Good morning, and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a congregation that finds truth and inspiration from many spiritual paths, and in community we help each other practice justice, inclusion, and love. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your identity, and your hopes for our world are welcome here. Special welcome to visitors. We're glad you're here. You can find events or contact information in your order of service. If you want to learn about all that is happening in the life of the church, you can sign up for our weekly e-news by contacting the office. Children are welcome in the sanctuary at any time. There's also nursery care for young ones and activities down in the commons later in the service. Amy will mention that as well. Please join us after service, everyone, for coffee and donuts. Excuse me. We've been singing a little bit this morning. They are served downstairs in the commons, and we encourage you to bring refreshments outside of the courtyard if you like on these lovely summer mornings. If you're online, we invite you to type in the chat or light a candle as we gather. Welcome to all. And as we move forward into fall, I want to be sure you know of two special dates, two save the dates. First, we return to two services on Sunday, September 11th, with our annual water communion service. Please bring some water for our tradition of a common bowl, whether it's water that's right from your yard or nearby or someplace you've been, and an invitation as you wish to share up to 7 words about what that water means as part of that ritual. So you can start preparing your words and your water now. That's Sunday, September 11th, services at 9 and 11. And then another very special event this fall, Saturday, September 24th, we will host Carrie Newcomer, who's a Quaker folk singer-songwriter, for an in-house concert here in the sanctuary at 7 p.m. She's been described as a prairie mystic, singer and songwriter by the Boston Globe, sings songs of spiritual openness and calls for compassion and justice. So tickets are available starting this Tuesday in just a couple days through a special e-news to First UU members and friends before opening wider if we have room. So you can see your e-news or you can visit a table starting next week or contact the office for the suggested ticket price of $20, but no one will be turned away for cost. You won't want to miss that special event. That's Saturday, September 24th. Each month, our offering goes out the doors of our church to work in the community. For August, our justice partner is Channel One Food Shelf, providing essential support to those with food insecurity in our community. You can give online or you can give as the plates pass during the service. Thank you for your generosity. And a special welcome to our guest musician, pianist Sam Buchel, a wonderful musician and pianist who we've had before. Sam, thank you for joining us today and your flexibility in this rescheduled Chalice Camp service to kind of do what we already had planned. But so glad you're here with us today providing music. So as we begin our service today, just a little background. It's a little different today. A few weeks back in July, we had many campers, over 40 children and youth here around the church with an at full capacity Chalice Camp, learning about space and the stars and Unitarian Universalist sources of wisdom. And today is a celebration of that. We were going to have this service on the Sunday following camp, but as many of you know, we had some storm damage and a tree fell on the building and services were canceled that Sunday. That was exciting. So today we have rescheduled, and we are so glad to share some of the songs and practices and learnings from that week and these very stylish shirts you'll see around as well, and share that with you all. So we're grateful for all those who helped make that week happen, volunteers offering extra presents for safety and fun, youth counselors leading and guiding young ones, some of these counselors who have been in Chalice Camp since they were the youngest in the camp, right, growing up, and Amy Nelson and Chantel Feddersen for offering a mountain and lifetimes of work and care and planning for months. So many long days, many hands made this a successful, beautiful camp. So thank you. In that spirit, we'll begin today's service with an appropriate title, Jupiter. May our time together remind us that we are made of sacred dust and the lights of the heavens.
So as you heard, this summer's Chalice Camp theme was space and all things out of this world. We learned about some unidentified friendly beings, and we learned about constellations. We learned about the start of this amazing universe, and we did it all with 4 attributes, the same as NASA astronauts did. So when we light the chalices today, you'll hear about those attributes and each space crew that they represented. Our chalice lighting the week of camp lifted up these attributes and values. And today, with some of our Chalice Camp pilots, we will share this chalice lighting with you. We light this chalice to bring integrity, agility, curiosity, and inclusivity into our lives.
This red chalice represents integrity. We light this chalice to remind us to be truthful, to stand up for what we believe in, and that integrity helps us do the right thing even when no one is watching.
The blue chalice represents agility. We light this chalice to remind us to be flexible, to accept that change is always happening, and that agility allows us to be ready for new situations.
This green chalice represents curiosity. We light this chalice to remind us to ask questions, to continue the search for true answers, and that curiosity leads us to great discoveries and helps us build a better world.
This orange chalice represents inclusivity. We light this chalice to remind us to be welcoming to all, to accept those who are different than us, and that inclusivity broadens our minds and expands our hearts.
May the light from all of these chalices help us remember to live with integrity as a phoenix, to remain agile as a Pegasus, to stay curious as a as a dragon, and to always be inclusive just as a unicorn. And to remind us to open our minds to the mystery and wonder of the universe.
The hymn As We Are, I invite you to rise and body or spirit as we sing.
One thing we learned at Chalice Camp is we read about the origin of the universe as we know it and learned an amazing amount of things about how we got to where we are today. Today's story, The Stuff of Stars, written by Marion Dane Bauer and illustrated by Akura Holmes, I couldn't read my own writing, lifts that up and tells that tale in a special way with some amazing illustrations. In the dark, deep, deep dark, a speck floated, invisible as a thought, weight as God. There was yet no time and there was yet no space, no up, no down, no edge, and no center. No earth with soaring hawks or scuttling beetles, no trees reaching for the sky. There was no sky. No you, no me, only the speck, waiting and waiting. And then, the beginning of all beginnings went bang. And in a trillionth of a second, our universe was born. A cloud of gas was unfolded, unfurled, zigged and zagged, stretched and collided, expanded, expanded, expanded. Bits bumped and gathered and fused together. And throughout the cosmos, stars caught fire. Trillions of stars, but still no planets, no oceans, mountains, no hippopotami, no violets bloomed in a shady wood. There was no day and there was no night. Stars burned and burned so hot that some of them exploded, flinging stardust everywhere. And the ash from those exploding stars gathered. They gathered into planets, but still no bluebirds, butterflies, snails, giraffes, and still no you and no me. The planets closest to the star stayed very hot, and the ones far away grew very cold. But one lucky planet, a fragile blue ball we call Earth, was neither too far nor too near. It circled its yellow star, the one we call the sun, from just the right distance, with just the right tilt to be sometimes warm and sometimes cool. Perfect for turning that starry stuff into jellyfish and spiders, ferns, shark, daisies, and galloping horses. Again and again, stardust gave birth to stardust. Dinosaurs lived and died, making room for humans, and our great-great-great-grandparents and all before them lived and died, making room for more and more children. And then one day, in the dark, in the deep, deep dark, another speck floated, invisible as dreams, special as love. Waiting and waiting, dividing and changing and growing until at last you burst into this world. You took a big breath of the same air once breathed by woolly mammoths. You cried tears that were once salty seas. Your hair was once a leaf. You and the velvet moss, the caterpillars, the lions, you and the singing whales and the larks and the frogs. You and me loving you. All of us are the stuff of stars. As Luke mentioned, today is a special day, so instead of inviting all the children to come downstairs, we're inviting all of the children to stay up with us today. And we recognize that some of the youngers may need to go down to the commons. The service will be playing down there. There's also some coloring sheets in the back. There's booty bags. We want to make it comfortable for all of the children to stay up here as long as they wish. We're now going to invite the Chalice Camp Choir to come on up.
Come on up, Chalice Campers. The little blue world on the back wall. Sing to it. There's time for adventure. There's people to treasure, and moments that no one can hold. There's so much to see when you're wandering free on this little blue world we call home. There's rivers and canyons, cornfields and badlands, and stories that haven't been told. There's thunder and lightning, there's room for surprise on this little blue world we call home. Home, we call home, the only one we've ever known. Home, we call home, drifting along on this little blue world we call home. We'll chase the horizon, sun in our eyes, and we'll learn so much more than we know. With songs in our hearts, we'll travel the stars on this little blue world we call home. Home, we call home, the only one we've ever known. Home, we call home, drifting along on this little blue world we call home.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. It's our time to pause amidst the busyness of our lives, to slow down enough to consider the beauty that is here all around us, and to open a space for listening and love. Here we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Jean Hansen, serving as our caring coordinator, arranging care for our members and friends in need. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because all people here have value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. We revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. May all of us find love, hope, joy, and healing strength in our community. Please send strength to Terry Allred and her sister Lisa. They are both caring for their father in North Carolina as he declines in health. They are there for an undetermined time and are tag teaming in his care. We hold them in our hearts, sending strength for these long days. May they know that they are held in love. We celebrate with Jessica and Will Morrison, who are the proud new parents to their son, Ryland Carter Morrison, born August 16th. The family of 3 are thriving as they adjust to this new and exciting chapter of their lives, and we welcome this new life to the world. And Kathy Hufftailing thanks you all for the love and caring thoughts you sent to her with the passing of her brother. Knowing that there is a caring community holding you up through difficult times is a comfort. As our UUs have been doing for over 150 years, we are continuing to adjust to an ever-changing world and new ways of doing things. Through this time of planning for our new church year, we ask for hope and patience, understanding and acceptance, and a renewed commitment of service to those in our lives, church, and community. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Feel below you the earth and its ancient terrain. Above you the sky, and beyond that the stars shining with their ancient light, holding you in this moment, this breath, this space between. Invite you to this time of meditation and prayer. Chalice campers know that we begin meditation and prayer by finding your breath. Find your breath. Hold on to your heart. Or open your hands to the sky and the stars. Or feel the energy from the earth. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Begin this time of prayer first by sharing silence. Spirit of life and source of love. Spirit of creativity and energy that wiggles and moves and makes noise, in which we rejoice and are grateful for the sounds of life. God of many names and beyond all names. On these days where the world greets us with the beauty of the morning, when it would seem all is well and good, we know in our souls and in the wider world there's always a mix. Joy and sadness, of celebration or grief known and unknown. Help us carry into this space today all that we need to carry, holding tenderly the concerns of the world, the concerns in our own lives, so that we might sink our heart roots deep into compassion. And help us let go of the things we need to let go of, even if for only an hour, a few minutes. Knowing that the heart and the soul, like any living thing, needs time for respite, repair, rest, and joy, and renewal. We hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names you're holding this day in joy or sorrow, celebration or concern, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. For all the names spoken and unspoken that we hold, may they all be held in love and grace. These words of meditation are from Rosemary Watola Traumer, who writes this: on Earth, just a teaspoon of neutron star would weigh 6 billion tons. 6 billion tons equals the collective weight of every animal on the entire Earth, including the insects, times 3. 6 billion tons sounds impossible. until I consider how it is to swallow grief. Just a teaspoon, and one might as well have consumed a neutron star. How dense it is. How it carries inside it the memory of collapse. How difficult it is to move then. How impossible to believe that anything could lift that massive weight. There are many reasons to treat each other with great tenderness. One is the sheer miracle that we are here together on a planet surrounded by dying stars. One is that we cannot see what anyone else has swallowed. May we hold each other in kindness and love for the sacred light in each of us. May it be so. Amen. Follow my actions. The Chalice campers know these actions too, or you might remember them, all right? Okay. In my soul, the sun is shining. In my blood, the rolling sea. In my breath,
The first reading is an excerpt from commentary from the Hebrew Bible, Genesis chapter 1, by theologian and feminist scholar Dr. Catherine Keller. When Elohim, plural for God, began creating the heaven and earth, the earth was an inhabitable waste, yet wild, and darkness was upon the face of the deep waters of unfathomed potential, an unformed infinity. And the breath and spirit and wind of the gods was pulsing over the face of the waters. Then the gods said, "Let there be light." The second reading is a poem by Nikita Gill entitled 93% Stardust. And since we're in a camper service, we're going to need participation from the audience. So it'll be a call and response, so I'll say the line and then you all will say it back, and the campers know this because I hear they did this during their services during camp. We have calcium in our bones.
We have calcium in our bones.
Iron in our veins.
Iron in our veins.
Carbon in our souls.
Carbon in our souls.
And nitrogen in our brains.
And nitrogen in our brains.
93% stardust with souls made of flame.
93% stardust with souls made of flame.
We are all just stars.
We are all just stars
that have people names.
that have people names.
Our offertory music is in your order of service, and we welcome you to sing along.
it's a harbor, it's a holy place. Golden sun going down, gentle blue giants spin us around, all through the night, safe till the morning light. This is our planet, spinning through space. It's a harbor, it's a harbor, it's a holy place. Masks and wireless mics are not the best of friends. So it's just tangled, but that's okay. It's all good. So long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, long ago in a beginning, when it all began, there was a turtle that swam to the bottom of the deepest waters and on its back gathered the dust of the swirling ocean depths to build the world on its back. Long ago, in a beginning when it was all beginning, there was a grandmother spider who created a web and wove together the deepest waters with the sky and with the land, and with her saliva and tears mixed with the dust of the earth, created all living things, weaving life together, that kept growing from the beauty that lived within her songs. Long ago, in a beginning when it was all beginning, there was a lotus flower at the center of all things, and each petal opened and blossomed, and each petal became part of all that was, became the ocean depths, became the tallest mountains, became the soil and then the plants, and they grew toward the sky, into trees, and into all living creatures. Long ago, in a beginning, when it was all beginning, energy and power and light burst forth in the deepest darkness, spiraling and dancing through the skies of the heavens, moving through generations of stars, generations of planets, generations of life, generations of plants and animals and people and stories and songs and tears and hopes and dreams and prayers. Until that very same dust of the very first stars became the bones that are holding you together right now. Became you from the very first bright blaze of anything. All Chalice Camp week, we were trying to hold this massive mystery, this beauty, this wild, spiraling beauty and reality, that we are part of something so much larger than any one of us can imagine. This massive mystery, this incomprehensible gift of life. All week we tried to imagine it through so many stories. So many creation stories around the world through time and culture speak of those beginning stories as many. In Genesis, as Heather just read, the word for God is plural. The waters are chaotic but filled with potential for life. It's not just nothing. There's something there. Better translated, a beginning, rather than the traditional in the beginning. In a beginning. It's a good reminder that all of these stories, these many stories, are meant to remind us that the world is held together by stories. The many stories of mystery and wonder and awe, not, as we often think, a bunch of confused people long ago who didn't understand things, tried to explain what was happening in the world, how it all began, as we're dismissive that the ancients must not have understood anything at all, right? But they understood stories that are so often still a response, an artistic expression to put into words the experience of wonder and imagination of all the ways the world is created every single day. A story, including all of these grand stories of creation and these beginnings itself, maybe are simply that, an invitation. As if the ancients are saying to us through time and text and tradition, they're saying, imagine this. What if it all began this way? Or what if it all began this way, or this way, or this way? How beautiful is that? In Chalice Camp, we tried to imagine this in so many different ways. So, I want to invite you all to imagine in the same ways that we imagined this week. So one thing I invited them to do constantly when we gathered outside for worship in the memorial garden or in here when it was kind of rainy or stormy outside was to take your hand and look at your palm. And remember that the bones inside there are made of this very first dust and bright blaze of the universe too, through time and space and things that change. And then lift it up and look at the sky or the little stars of our ceiling. And remember that this very hand up among those stars is connected. You are made of the heavens. So grab a star gently, scoop it in your hand, and bring it down to your heart. Just hold it there for a minute. Remember that you are made of the stars, the heavens. So we'd gather and try to remember that and hold these stories and these mysteries together. And we'd light our chalices. And on one of the last days, maybe it was the last day? It was the last day. It was a little omen. The last day, our poor little green chalice fell and cracked. And we had all these little pieces here, and it was kind of depressing. The end of Chalice Camp Week. It just didn't feel right, felt like some pox upon us there. But we also talked about how some things break in life. All the time, some things break. And the most important thing when something breaks is to fill in the spaces, the jagged spaces, to soften those with love, kindness, compassion. The most important things when things break is not to try to get it back to be the exact same thing it was, because that can't happen. But to respond to it with love and kindness and compassion. So little did we know the next day, just imagine, a giant storm came through Rochester. And just imagine the church was pretty quiet, other than our Energizer Bunny worker, Amy, who's always in her office, and Claire was here too, working and cleaning up after all of you being here all week, and putting things back together. And a giant storm comes, and you imagine things are pretty safe, you know? It's made out of concrete shingles, cinder blocks, steel. It's like a bunker in a rock hill, right? It is a safe place, and that is true. But imagine a tree, okay, right? So you've got a tree. Start it in your hand here. Try to pretend you're holding it. You've got this little tree, and over the years it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and its roots grow wider and wider instead of down because it's on bedrock, and that was not probably the best, but there it is, and it keeps growing, and it keeps growing, and it's this big. The tree was that big. Something I couldn't put my arms around. None of these kids, right? So imagine now it starts swaying. and the wind comes and the rain comes, and all of a sudden, the tree starts going, and then, can you do this with me? And tree meets cinder block. And it cracks down into the courtyard. Cinder block holds up pretty good. And steel. And then Amy goes, that sounds like thunder. And Claire's like, that's a tree. And so they wander through the building, and there's a whole litany of words of surprise. And they get to the courtyard, and they see all the branches filled in the courtyard. A tree has broken, like our chalice, and fallen on our church. And so they call some people, and people begin to gather, and we walk through the building. And the moment when we see light, or we see water coming down the walls in the classrooms, and mostly coming out of the light fixtures, then we think, this is bad. And we should get out of here. So, as courageous and brave as I am, I tell Nick, our property steward, you're going to flip the switch to turn off the power. So we decide we have to turn off the power. So pretend you're going down to the bunkers, right, into the electrical closet, and there's this giant switch, which we have never touched. This giant switch. And pretend you grab it. Can you grab it in your hand? And then, for a little while, all the lights go out. And then it is dark. It is dark for our safety. And we go outside, and we see what we can do inside to make sure things are going to be okay for a little while. But the first thing we know to do when there's something big and kind of frightening and kind of unsafe, you call for help. You call for help. That's the most important lesson in Chalice Camp, in church, that you don't go it alone. When you are in need of support for safety and well-being, you reach out beyond yourself for help. And so over the next several days, people would come and help. That Sunday, we were supposed to have this service. We didn't. And so I had to come in here, and it was darker than this. It was cloudy. There were no candles, no lights up here. Even the exit signs had turned off by that point. And I had to grab this chalice, and I had to bring it out front so that we would gather there, and we'd put the donuts there because they were still being delivered on Sunday. And folks would come and see the tree that had fallen, and to see that our church, though a little disappointed and sad, would still regather, and we would fill those spaces and those cracks with professional craftsmanship, but also we'd fill those spaces with love, because we know how to respond with love. And when I came into the sanctuary pitch dark, trying to find this chalice and bumping into things, I thought about how much life and vibrancy this place was filled with all week. So Chalice campers, do you have your candle? Good. Light your candle and lift it up. And if you don't have a candle, if you weren't a camper or if you just forgot one, just lift up your star hand into the air. When something is so dark, when something is so frightening or unexpected and cancels things, you look for the light across the distance which is connected to your own soul. And you know that the only thing that lights up the darkness of the heart and the soul is the light of one another. And yes, and battery power, and magic devices. So take that light, scoop that light, put it into your heart again. Remember that we light up each other's world, and we ask for help when we need it. And we know that we find our way through the dark together. Like in these words. Remember, you are made of light, sacred mystery and stardust. We have calcium in our bones. You want to say that? We have calcium in our bones. Iron in our veins. Carbon in our souls. Nitrogen in our brains. 93% stardust. With souls made of flames. We are all just stars. That have people names. Or in these words woven through generations in 1,000 ways. When the gods, the goddesses, the great spirit, the holy creators of all things began to create the heavens and the earth, it was wild. And there was darkness and there was light in a sacred dance, filled with unfathomable potential and unformed infinity, and the breath of the Spirit was alive, breathing on the face of the waters and the lands, and in the midst of deep darkness. At the center of all that was yet to be, something said, some spirit said, felt, sang from the mountain, from the bottom of the sea, from the center of the flower, let there be light. Let there be love. And there was. And there is. Life being created over and over again. World without end. Amen. The hymn is Blue Boat Home. Invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing. So take a breath. I invite you, as you're comfortable, to raise your hands toward the heavens and stars from which you come, or in gratitude toward the earth, and breathe deep the breath of life. Go yonder, and gather the people, and give them not hell, but courage and hope. Give them something of the love you have found here, and tell all the people that love is our home. Amen.